Every mental disorder explained. Depression. Depression is a mental disorder that changes how the brain handles mood, energy, and motivation. It affects chemicals called serotonin and dopamine, which are messengers that help you feel pleasure, reward, and drive. When these chemicals don't work properly, the brain struggles to generate feelings that normally make life feel worth doing. Depression does not feel like normal sadness. Sadness usually has a reason and fades with time. Depression feels heavy, empty, and constant, even when nothing bad is happening. You can have a good job, supportive friends, and still feel like joy has been unplugged from your brain like a phone charger that never actually charges. One major effect of depression is low energy. You may sleep for many hours and still wake up exhausted. Your body feels slow, like it's moving through thick syrup. Simple tasks such as showering, answering messages, or making food can feel as hard as running a marathon, except the marathon is in pajamas. Depression also changes how the brain thinks. Thoughts become slower and more negative. Your mind tells you things like, nothing will ever get better, or this is just who I am now. These thoughts feel true because depression doesn't announce itself as a disorder. It speaks in your own voice, which makes it very convincing, like a bad narrator you didn't hire. Motivation disappears because the brain no longer rewards effort. Activities that once felt fun now feel pointless. This isn't laziness, it's the brain failing to produce the chemical good job sticker after you do something. Imagine playing a video game where the controller works, but the reward system is broken. Eventually, you stop playing. Social withdrawal is another effect. People with depression often avoid friends and family, not because they don't care, but because pretending to be okay takes energy they don't have. Smiling feels like lifting weights with your face. Talking feels like homework you didn't sign up for. Over time, untreated depression can reshape how a person sees themselves and the world. Hope feels fake. The future feels empty. The disorder slowly convinces you that feeling alive was temporary and that numbness is permanent, even though it isn't. Depression is not something you can snap out of, and telling someone to just think positive is like telling a broken leg to walk it off. The brain needs proper support to heal, not motivational posters. Anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders happen when the brain's fear system stays turned on even when there is no real danger. The part of the brain responsible for this is the amygdala, which is like a smoke alarm. In anxiety disorders, that alarm goes off when someone burns toast, not when the house is actually on fire. Everyone feels anxiety sometimes. That's normal. Anxiety disorders are different because the fear is constant, intense, or triggered by everyday situations. The brain keeps acting like something bad is about to happen, even when you are just sitting on the couch doing absolutely nothing threatening. One major effect of anxiety is physical symptoms. The body releases stress hormones like adrenaline, which raises heart rate, tightens muscles, and speeds up breathing. This is great if you need to escape a tiger. It is less helpful when the tiger is an email that just says, "Hey, can we talk?" Anxiety also affects thinking. The brain starts predicting worst case scenarios automatically. A small problem becomes a disaster movie. A late reply turns into, "They hate me. I ruined everything, and I will now replay this conversation forever." Anxiety is very creative, just not in a helpful way. Another effect is avoidance. Because anxiety feels so uncomfortable, the brain tries to escape it by avoiding situations that trigger fear. This can mean avoiding social events, phone calls, driving, or even leaving the house. Avoidance brings short-term relief, but long-term it teaches the brain that the fear was correct, making anxiety stronger next time. Anxiety also drains energy. Being alert all the time is exhausting. The body never fully relaxes, which leads to poor sleep, muscle pain, headaches, and constant fatigue. You can feel tired even after doing nothing all day because your nervous system has been running a full marathon internally. Importantly, anxiety disorders are not a lack of bravery. They are a misfiring survival system. The brain is trying to protect you, but it is very bad at choosing appropriate threats. It treats grocery stores and silence like danger zones. Anxiety doesn't mean something bad will happen. It means your brain is acting like it might, just in case. And unfortunately, it never turns that mode off by itself. Bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is a mental disorder that causes extreme shifts in mood, energy, and activity levels. These shifts are not random mood swings. They happen in clear phases called depressive episodes and manic or hypomanic episodes. Think of it as the brain's emotional thermostat, breaking and swinging between very low and very high. During a depressive episode, bipolar disorder looks similar to depression. Energy drops, motivation disappears, and everything feels heavy and slow. Getting out of bed feels like a task with too many steps. Thoughts turn negative and joy feels switched off. The brain is stuck in low power mode. During a manic episode, the brain goes in the opposite direction. Energy skyrockets, thoughts race, sleep feels optional. A person may feel unstoppable, extremely confident, and full of ideas that all seem brilliant at the same time. The brain is releasing large amounts of dopamine, which creates intense excitement and drive, like drinking 10 energy drinks and deciding to finally fix your entire life at 3 a.m. Mania also affects judgment. The brain's filter weakens, so impulses take control. People may talk very fast, spend too much money, take risky actions, or make big life decisions without thinking through consequences. At the time, everything feels logical. Later, it feels confusing and overwhelming. Some people experience hypomania, which is a milder version of mania. It can feel productive and energetic without completely losing control. This can make bipolar disorder harder to recognize because hypomania can look like being very motivated instead of a symptom. One of the hardest effects of bipolar disorder is the contrast between states. When energy crashes after mania, the depression can feel even heavier. The brain remembers how good the high felt, which makes the low feel worse by comparison. Bipolar disorder is not moodiness, and it is not caused by personality. It is a brain condition involving chemical regulation and circadian rhythm disruption. The brain struggles to keep mood, energy, and sleep in balance. People with bipolar disorder are not too much. Their brains simply operate on a wider emotional range than average, like a volume knob that turns farther in both directions. Schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a mental disorder that affects how the brain processes reality. It changes how a person thinks, perceives, and interprets the world. This does not mean split personality. That is a common myth. Schizophrenia is about confusion between what is real and what is not having multiple identities. One major effect of schizophrenia is hallucinations, which are sensory experiences that happen without external input. The most common type is hearing voices. These voices feel real because the brain is generating them using the same systems it uses for normal sound. To the person experiencing it, the brain is not pretending. It fully believes the sound exists. Another effect is delusions, which are strong beliefs that don't match reality, even when evidence says otherwise. These beliefs are not jokes or exaggerations. The brain locks onto them with full confidence. Logic doesn't easily break them because the disorder affects how evidence is evaluated. Schizophrenia also affects thinking and speech. Thoughts can become disorganized, jumpy, or hard to follow. A person may struggle to connect ideas smoothly. This isn't a lack of intelligence, it's the brain's filing system malfunctioning, like a computer opening random tabs at the same time. Emotion can also change. Some people experience flat affect, where facial expressions and emotional reactions seem muted. Inside, feelings may still exist, but the brain has trouble expressing them outwardly. This can make someone appear distant, even when they care deeply. Daily functioning becomes difficult because the brain is constantly sorting signal from noise. Imagine trying to focus while multiple radio stations play at once. Simple tasks require enormous mental effort, which leads to exhaustion and withdrawal. Schizophrenia often begins in late teens or early adulthood, when the brain is finishing development. It is linked to dopamine regulation, genetics, and brain structure, not personal weakness or bad choices. People with schizophrenia are far more likely to be confused or scared than dangerous. The disorder doesn't remove humanity, it adds interference. The person is still there, the signal is just distorted. Obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. Obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, is a mental disorder where the brain gets stuck in a loop of unwanted thoughts and repetitive behaviors. These are called obsessions and compulsions. The key problem is that the brain struggles to feel done, even when nothing is actually wrong. Obsessions are intrusive thoughts, images, or urges that pop into the mind and cause anxiety. These thoughts are not chosen and are often the opposite of what the person values. For example, someone might worry constantly about germs, safety, mistakes, or causing harm, even when they know logically that everything is fine. The brain keeps asking, "What if?" and refuses to accept reassurance. Compulsions are behaviors or mental rituals done to reduce the anxiety caused by obsessions. This can include washing hands repeatedly, checking locks over and over, counting, repeating phrases in the head, or arranging objects just right. The relief is temporary, which teaches the brain to demand the ritual again. It's like an anxiety subscription that auto-renews every 5 minutes. OCD is not about liking things neat or being organized. That's a personality trait. OCD is driven by fear, not preference. The person does not enjoy the rituals. They feel forced to do them, even when they know they don't make sense. Logic knows it's unnecessary, anxiety doesn't care. One major effect of OCD is time loss. Simple tasks can take hours because the brain won't allow completion without perfect certainty. Leaving the house can feel like a full checklist inspection performed by an imaginary safety officer who never clocks out. OCD also causes intense guilt and responsibility. The brain convinces the person that failing to do a ritual could cause something terrible to happen. Even though this isn't true, the fear feels real. The disorder turns imagination into a threat detector with no off switch. OCD is linked to overactivity in brain circuits related to error detection. The brain keeps flagging problems that don't exist. It's like spell check underlining every word, including the correct ones. People with OCD are not weak, dramatic, or too careful. Their brains are simply stuck searching for certainty in a world that does not offer it. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, happens when the brain fails to turn off survival mode after a traumatic event. Trauma can include accidents, violence, disasters, abuse, or any situation where the brain believed life or safety was at risk. The event ends, but the brain keeps acting like it's still happening. The main issue in PTSD is that the brain's alarm system stays overactive. The amygdala keeps sounding danger alerts, while the part of the brain that says "you're safe now" struggles to calm it down. It's like a fire alarm that keeps going off even after the fire department has left. One major effect of PTSD is flashbacks. These are not memories you think about on purpose. They are sudden replays where the brain reacts as if the trauma is happening again right now. The body responds with fear, stress, and panic, even though the person knows they are physically safe. Logic is present, but fear is louder. PTSD also causes hypervigilance, which means being constantly alert for danger. The brain scans rooms, noises, and people for threats. This makes rest difficult. Relaxation feels unsafe. Even calm situations can feel tense, like waiting for something bad to jump out from behind the couch. Another effect is avoidance. The brain tries to protect itself by avoiding anything that reminds it of the trauma. This can include places, people, smells, sounds, or conversations. Avoidance helps in the short term but shrinks life over time, turning the world into a growing list of "do not enter" signs. Sleep problems are common. Nightmares replay the trauma, and falling asleep feels risky because the brain wants to stay alert. Imagine trying to sleep while your brain insists on pulling all-night security duty. Exhausting and unpaid. PTSD does not mean someone is weak or broken. It means their brain learned survival too well. The system worked during danger, but forgot how to stand down afterward. The goal of recovery is not forgetting. It's teaching the brain that the emergency is over. PTSD is the brain protecting you long after protection is needed, like wearing a helmet to bed just in case. Attention deficit, ICSI, hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Attention deficit, ICSA, hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, is a mental disorder that affects how the brain controls attention, impulses, and motivation. It is not a lack of intelligence or effort. It is a problem with the brain's executive functions, which are the systems that help you plan, focus, start tasks, and finish them. In ADHD, the brain struggles to regulate dopamine, a chemical linked to motivation and reward. This means the brain does not get enough reward signals from normal tasks. Activities that are boring, repetitive, or slow feel physically uncomfortable to focus on, like trying to watch paint dry while your brain screams for entertainment. One major effect of ADHD is difficulty sustaining attention. The brain jumps quickly between thoughts, sounds, and ideas. This does not mean the person cannot focus at all. In fact, ADHD can cause hyperfocus, where attention locks intensely onto something interesting. Time disappears, hunger disappears, the outside world disappears. Important appointments also disappear. Another effect is impulsivity. The brain's pause button is weak, so thoughts and actions can come out before being fully processed. This can mean interrupting, making quick decisions, spending money impulsively, or saying things that sounded better inside the head than out loud. ADHD also affects time perception. The brain struggles to feel the passage of time accurately. Deadlines feel far away until they are suddenly right now. This leads to procrastination that looks like laziness from the outside, but inside feels like being stuck until panic provides enough adrenaline to start. Organization and memory can be difficult, not because information is missing, but because the brain's filing system is messy. Important items are often placed somewhere safe and never seen again. ADHD is very good at hiding things from itself. ADHD does not mean a person lacks discipline. It means their brain needs different systems to function well. Structure, reminders, and external tools help replace what the brain struggles to regulate internally. And ADHD brains are not broken. They are fast, creative, and idea-rich, just not designed for long meetings, quiet desks, or doing paperwork without emotional support snacks. Autism Spectrum Disorder, ASD. Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is a neurodevelopmental condition that affects how the brain processes social information, communication, and sensory input. It is called a spectrum because it appears differently in each person. There is no single autism experience. There are many versions with shared traits. One major feature of autism is differences in social communication. This does not mean a lack of interest in people. It means the brain processes social signals differently. Facial expressions, tone of voice, sarcasm, and unspoken rules can be confusing or exhausting to decode. Social interaction can feel like trying to play a game where everyone else got the instruction manual except you. Another effect is sensory sensitivity. The autistic brain often processes sensory input more intensely. Sounds can feel too loud, lights too bright, textures too sharp, or smells too strong. What feels normal to others can feel overwhelming, like the volume of the world is permanently set too high. Autism is also associated with strong interests and routines. The brain finds comfort in predictability. Repeating routines reduces stress and helps the brain feel safe. Special interests can become deeply focused areas of knowledge, sometimes to an impressive degree. The brain locks onto topics with enthusiasm and detail that others may not match. Change can be difficult because it disrupts predictability. Sudden changes in plans can cause anxiety or shutdown, not because the person is inflexible, but because the brain relies on structure to manage incoming information. Some autistic people experience meltdowns or shutdowns, which are not tantrums. These happen when the brain becomes overloaded and can no longer regulate input. A meltdown is an overflow. A shutdown is a freeze. Both are stress responses, not behavior choices. Autism does not mean a lack of empathy. Many autistic people feel emotions deeply, but may express them differently. The issue is not caring, it's translation. The signal is there. It just uses a different format. Autism is not a disease to be cured. It is a different brain wiring. Support focuses on reducing overload and helping the world meet the person halfway, instead of forcing the person to pretend to be someone else. Autistic brains are not broken. They are running a different operating system. And asking them to just act normal is like asking a printer to become a microwave. Mental disorders aren't weaknesses or personality flaws. They're real brain conditions that deserve understanding, not judgment. If this video helped you see these experiences more clearly, Share it with someone who might need that clarity too. Subscribe for more honest, science based explanations about the brain, behavior, and what it really means to be human.